So tonight I wanted to talk a little bit about the Heart Sutra. First of all, the Heart Sutra is called the Heart Sutra because it is thought to be the heart of the Prajnaparamita teachings. Now, the Prajnaparamita teachings and the Mahayana Buddhist teachings are almost synonymous. The first Mahayana, or great vehicle, bodhisattva-centered teachings of Buddhism were the Prajnaparamita Sutras. It's often said that the great Prajnaparamita Sutra is condensed into the Prajnaparamita Sutra in 8,000 lines, which is condensed into the Prajnaparamita Sutra in 5,000, which is condensed into the 500 line, the 100 line, and all the way down to the Heart Sutra, which is one page, and from there it gets even smaller. It gets down to the single letter A. There's actually a sutra that says that one day the Buddha seated himself before the monks and said, I am about to recite the great essence of the Prajnaparamita canon in one letter, A, and then stopped. And that was the whole sutra, just that letter.
Was it
Ah. It's like that first letter of the Om, that ah sound, yeah, that's right. The letter A, or the sound ah, that's right. So pure sound, pure sound and pure form too, because that letter is visualized in many practices, including Mahamudra, Dzogchen, and a number of other meditative practices. So the Heart Sutra in one page that we have here, we don't know exactly how old it is. It probably is about 2,000 years old, something like that. Whether it originates in China or India, we don't know. But some spiritual genius was able to take all the teachings of the Prajnaparamita canon, which are vast and subtle, and to put them all on one page. And immediately, I think, people grasped the import of this and took it to heart. This is of a category of teachings that we might call one-page Dharma. Honen, the founder of the Japanese Pure Land School, also put his entire teachings onto one page, called the Ichimai Kishamon. Jesus put all of his teachings onto one page in the Our Father, and so forth and so on. You could say in Judaism, the Shema and the 18 benedictions are the condensation of the one-page Judaism. And every tradition has some condensation of the teachings, ultimate refinement of them. In the Quran, it's the Fatiha, or the opening. And so we could say this is the essence of Mahayana Buddhism in the same way. This is really like the Our Father of Mahayana Buddhism. This is what, in every Mahayana Buddhist school, almost, with a few exceptions, they recite, or at least venerate, even if they don't recite it. So, Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion. This is interesting. Avalokiteshvara is a Bodhisattva being who is born again and again for the sake of liberating other suffering beings. So this is a compassionate being who, rather than attain enlightenment for him or herself, turns back into the world of causality, back into the world of suffering, and chooses to liberate other beings instead of just saving him or herself. This is the idea. This is the great Mahayana Buddhist ideal. It does not, I think, however, mean what it seems to mean. It's not a life of martyrdom. It's not really even a life so much of sacrifice. It's a life of limitless, self-liberating, boundless compassion. The Bodhisattva lives the way the Bodhisattva does, not in order to inflict any special suffering upon him or herself, but in order to fully engage with all that is. Bodhisattva has no desire to flee this world or to get away from its sufferings, but rather wants to be liberated fully and completely within it. Now, Avalokiteshvara is unusual among bodhisattvas because bodhisattvas in Buddhism are a little like saints. You know, it's almost like a patron bodhisattva of this or that. Like you'll say there's the bodhisattva of lost travelers. There's the Bodhisattva of childbirth, and so forth and so on. There are a great many of them. But Avalokiteshvara doesn't really fall into that ordinary category. In Tibetan Buddhism, in fact, Avalokiteshvara is thought of as a Buddha, or as the Buddha. Avalokiteshvara is central to Tibetan Buddhism. It's the reason why the 6-syllable mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, or Hail to the Jewel in the Lotus, is the mantra of Avalokiteshvara, and that is like the national mantra of Tibet. Dalai Lama is thought to be an incarnation of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara is the Bodhisattva perceiver of the world's sounds. And there are a lot of stories to explain why that is. One says that Avalokiteshvara was about to cross over the raging waters of suffering to the far shore of nirvana, and had placed one foot in nirvana, whereupon he heard the cries of suffering beings, and listening, turned back and witnessed their sufferings, and decided that it was impossible to leave them behind, and so turned back, from that final bliss and forgetfulness of the world and its sufferings, turned back into the world for the sake of other beings. There's another great story that explains why Avalokiteshvara has so many arms, in some cases as many as 1,000. One story says that when Avalokiteshvara was practicing as a human being, he made the vow that he would liberate all beings in the 6 realms: the hell realm, the realm of the hungry ghosts, the animal realm, the human realm, the realm of the Titans, basically, or the realm of the gods. And he started at the bottom and worked his way up. And he said, if I don't achieve this, may I be shattered to pieces, basically. And he had just finished liberating all of the beings in the 6 realms, and he got to the top realm, and he was done. And at that moment, he thought, well, maybe I better just look back to check to see if I missed anyone. And when he looked back, he found beings pouring by the billions and trillions and quadrillions into the hell realm to replace the ones he had liberated. So the process was endless. And at that, he was shattered into 1,000 pieces, 1,000 arms and hands. And each one of those hands then began to act to alleviate suffering. In other words, his effort, on the one hand, his original goal was shattered. On the other hand, he became far more powerful, far more effective in dealing with the sufferings of the world. So we're dealing with this being. However, if we look at it from a green perspective, we simultaneously get a little bit less poetic and a little more real. Okay, because this is all within the realm of myth, really. Dingo Khyentse Rinpoche, great Tibetan Buddhist teacher of the last century, tutor to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, once said that like 1,000 streams can come together and pass under one bridge, so all Buddhas are united in Avalokiteshvara. All Buddhas are united in compassion. Think of it like the heart. We have miles and miles. I think once I heard, if you put our capillaries end to end, they would circle the earth 2 or 3 times, something like that. So we have, just like endless pathways through which our blood flows in our very body. We have the arteries that pump the blood throughout the body, and the capillaries that spread it to the bones, the sinews, the nerves, the bone, muscles. And we have the veins that bring it back. It all comes back to the heart. And the heart is what drives that life force through it. In the same way, compassion is what drives the life force through the vast chains of plant and animal life on this planet to keep everything going. Compassion is what drives it. And when we look at nature, we may see what appears to be violence, but all is governed and ruled by compassion, because everything that eats is eaten, and everything that is eaten also eats, and it all remains in balance in a vast circle from which nothing is ever lost and nothing is ever gained. That circle of compassion is Avalokiteshvara from our point of view. So when it says Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, doing deep prajna paramita, clearly saw that the 5 skandhas are shunyata, thus transcending misfortune and suffering. That's the basis of it. Prajna paramita literally means transcendent wisdom, but I prefer the older term, which refers to a goddess called Mother of all Buddhas, original earth goddess, or a mother goddess. So we're talking about something like the Willendorf Venus. We're talking about a very, very ancient female goddess or divinity that represents the earth and its processes in their totality, from which all things come and to which all things return. Something closer to Kali, perhaps. So if we want to give the sutra a green reading, then we come back to the older meaning of it. So basically what Avalokiteshvara is doing is dwelling on the union of that compassion and the earth from which it springs, the earth which embodies it. And from that point of view, Avalokiteshvara clearly saw that the 5 skandhas, the 5 skandhas are the 5 aggregates or 5 heaps. They're the ways in which our experience are organized. Like all possible thoughts, feelings, experiences, sensations fall into one of the 5 skandhas. It says that they're all empty. All empty. Now this is a curious word because it doesn't mean in Sanskrit or in Chinese or Japanese what it means in English. It doesn't mean vacuous or vacant, but it means empty of selfhood. It means empty of human thought. It means it's like I always think of it like Teflon. Nothing sticks to it. Nothing sticks to it. Nothing sticks to nature. Absolutely nothing. No thought sticks to it. Okay, we have all kinds of thoughts and projections that we project onto the raw stuff of reality, but none of it sticks. It just slides right off. It only sticks here in our minds. But if we allow our minds to enter into a intimate, direct, and trusting relationship to nature, then it slides off of us, just like it slides off of nature. And all that remains is a pristine, clear, radiant, and free vision of reality. So this is what Avalokiteshvara sees, that frees him of all misfortune and suffering. Another way of understanding it would be to say that you're going to take a child's sand pail down to the ocean and scoop a pail of water out of that ocean and hold it up and say, this has been stolen from the ocean and will never return. Okay? And so that's a loss. That's a suffering, as if the ocean has somehow been diminished. But what can you do with that pail? If you leave it there, the water will evaporate, return to the sky, and go back into the sea. If it gets knocked over, it'll run into the sand and return to the sea. Carry it inland, anywhere you want on the surface of the entire planet, and do anything to that water you want, and it's still water, and it still returns to the sea. It still belongs to the sea. It still is the sea. Nothing can alter that or change it.